is that this is like the science of it. The symbolism of the animal corresponds and has a sympathetic link to the actions of the target or the individual that you are working on. I'm going to say that again. The symbolism of the animal has a sympathetic link to the actions of the individual you are working on. This is why you'll see in some grimoires, like in the 218 current, where you use a rat, which represents disease, plague, and most of all treachery, in order to silence a traitor or to provoke someone through possession of that spirit animal to commit acts of treachery or to fill them with disease, things like that. These animal symbolism and correspondences even have place in vampirism. Like if you work with the book Liber Hurrido, Book of the Leech, you'll see he has different masks there for working with maggots, flies, mosquitoes, insects that correspond to vampirism, that kind of thing. What's important to realize is that even for you light workers and RHP folk watching this, animal sacrifice can be used for good purposes. For example, you can take a fucking elephant tusk. Elephants are physically strong animals, and they carry with them and in their bodies certain qualities such as improved health, removal of obstacles. Ganesh, the remover of obstacles, you know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. And you can use that elephant tusk as a charm to help with the person you're trying to heal or you're trying to do work on. On the more baneful aspect of things, you can take an animal such as a rooster. You can take an animal such as a rat or maybe wolf hair, cat fur. That's been used how many times in baneful magic, you know? And it will add the essence and power of that animal to your spells. What really happens, though, when you kill the animal, in this case, we're going back to the rooster, you send the spirit body, the astral body of the animal to attach itself to the body of the living person. And this animal, depending on what it is, can either possess them or it can start to scratch at them. This is part of the logic of the chicken foot curse, so to speak, where you have the feet of the chicken that either grab to pull something in, grab to choke, or scratch at the person, adding an aggressive aspect to whatever baneful magic or rituals that you're doing. I do have to say a word about ethically sourcing your animal parts. It's one thing to find roadkill. That's perfectly fine. It's another thing to fucking go out and hunt some of the rarest animals in existence just because you fucking can. Like, I'm not sure if some of you saw this, but there was this Facebook post where a poacher, I believe it was in Africa, I could be mistaken there, but this poacher killed the only white, all white, spotless white deer and her cow that's on the planet. I'm not an animal lover, but that shit pissed me off. You're literally doing shit just because you can. You feel me? There's no giving an offering to the fucking animal. There's no respect for the animal. None of that shit. So whatever you do, whether you're LHP or RHP, give an offering to the animal first. Leave something there. Blow tobacco over it to help its spirit ascend, because animals can ascend just like humans can ascend. That's how they gain supernatural faculties, and that's how they're called familiars. Keep that in mind. This also carries a shamanic aspect to it as well. Perhaps you don't have a fucking wolf in your part of the world, whether you're like in Greece or whether you're like fucking France or some shit. It's going to be very supernatural if you come across a wolf walking just right there on the streets just waiting for you, you know? So what you can do in place of that, however, is make various tinctures after you invoke a particular spirit animal. There's many different ways you can do this. Astral shape-shifting, calling that being or calling that animal being into you, watching your astral body shape-shift, and then coming back to your physical body, you start to manifest those traits, some of which could be an enhanced sense of smell. Your root chakra, dealing with your primal senses and your development of those senses starts to get stronger. And with that, it's no longer just you creating the spell or the tincture, but it's you and the animal creating the tincture. and thus the power of it gets carried through to the ingredients, to all that your hands touch, etc. A brief note on the hands. It's going to be very important when you start working with the shamanic aspects of necromancy, things like that, working with dead animals, spirits of dead animals, and whatnot. Your hands are how you establish the world around you, it's how you put things together, it's how you assemble whatever spell it is that you assemble. So, the most basic of spells, when you get to a certain level, can really be the most advanced of spells. Because in your hands, it's not just your power, but your ancestral power. Plus, it's the power of your spirits, or whatever gods or whatever you work with. And it's also representing skill. You can look at a master artisan and see the skill in their hands, the strength in their hands. And it goes into their craft and is part of what makes them and their piece of art unique. So bear in mind what you do with your hands or what you don't do with your hands is very important. That's why you hear a lot of Christians talk about, idle hands are the devil's workshop. That has some truth to it, meaning that if you don't work, if you don't actually get the fucking physical material, put shit together, because, visualization can only take you so far. If you don't actually do the fucking work and get your hands dirty, you're not going to have that strength necessary to execute some of the most basic kind of rituals and spells, i.e. making a fucking sweeping jar, if you're into hoodoo, that kind of thing. There's a reason most people's fucking hoodoo jars is hit and miss. And again, the strength of the hands, the work of the hands. Do you actually do your fucking work, your ritual work? Now, going into the more necromantic aspects of, I guess you could call this a form of shamanism, animal shamanism. When you start working with deceased pets, some of my viewers have lost dogs or cats or some shit. You can call them up and you can use their bones, if it's not like too much of a psychological issue for you, for grief and all, you can use their bones in order to draw on their power and their essence. They can still work for you even after they're gone. This kind of has correspondence to dream work. Because if you look closely at your pet while they're sleeping, or whatever animal you carry in or whatever, you'll see that they have their own dream bodies that most oftentimes come to you and sleep next to you while you sleep. Feel me? And so when you're working with these deceased entities, these deceased animals, you must treat them the same way you treat the dead, the living dead. There is no exception. You give an offering, you do whatever you have to do, depending on what the work is. If it's painful, if it's healing, you can heat the work up, so to speak, with fiery herbs like cayenne pepper, fucking chili pepper, that kind of thing. And it will enable your animal, your spirit animal, to grow stronger and work more effectively in the physical plane. In relation to that, in terms of actually throwing hexes and curses, once again, going back to the rooster. When you decapitate the rooster, that's symbolic of severing the mind from the body and the spirit. This is the same analogy where Perseus cut off the head of Medusa in Greek mythology. How do I put it? It translates from the rooster's head being cut off to your enemy losing their sanity, because that's what the mind most often represents, the power of thought, free will, personality, and sanity. And when they lose their head, so to speak, then they start doing crazy shit just for no fucking reason, which oftentimes leads to their demise. That's where the saying, running like a chicken with your head cut off, fucking comes from. You see how the wordplay and how everything is connected, weaving in language with the action, with the symbolism, that unholy trinity, so to speak. That's the most basic application of animal sacrifice for whether it's necromancy or whether it's for your Reiki practitioners, that kind of thing. Also, a note to you Reiki practitioners, light workers, etc. You may not feel like these things can be applied in your current. Sometimes it can. Like, what fucking animal sacrifice part has ever been a part of Reiki? You feel me? But you want to grow as a Reiki worker. You want to grow as a light worker. You're gonna have to do shit that the other 99.9% of those in the field are not going to do. That's how you get stronger. That's how you develop your own unique methods. That's how you really learn the principles of what the fuck is going on. Yes, it's unorthodox. Yes, you're going to get criticism from those in your field. But at the end of the day, you're the one getting powerful results and not them. Plain and simple. Now, leaving that, I want to talk a little bit about the role of shamanism in necromancy. There are ways to, I don't want to say win, but you can walk multiple worlds at the same time. Your physical body is here, yet your mind and your astral body is in another place altogether. Take a look at the people around your city. Those who you see that, do magic, or at least feel like they do magic. Most of the time you'll find this in Indian tribes. You see people wearing Indian headdresses and all that other kind of stuff, talismans and chains. And just watch the way they walk. Watch the way they physically walk. It's going to be very subtle, but if your senses are open, you'll be able to tell and feel in their aura that they're in a completely different fucking dimension just by the way they physically move. When you're deep into shamanism and you're really like fucking with the elements and your balance, and you're working with the upper world, middle world, lower world, and all that other kind of shit in unison, there is a form of physical transmutation that occurs to where you're here, but it's like you're on autopilot, if that makes sense. Once you experience it, it'll become clearer to you what I mean. But that is brought about by a resonance and harmony with not just these physical dimensions, i.e. the four elements, fire, water, earth, air, and spirit, but by a form of balance with other dimensions as well. This opens up many different doors for like remote viewing, possessing a person while you're still in your body by making an actual copy of yourself. It opens up such doors as fucking remote healing fucking injuries. One of my friends had a fucking popped shoulder that she's been struggling with for months. And I didn't have to go into no fucking meditation per se. I didn't really have to do all this other extra crazy shit. I simply focused, went into that state, that shamanic trance state almost. And using tobacco and my will, her shoulder is now healed. This shit is possible. I'm not saying that to like fucking toot my horn or some shit. You who is watching, you can do this shit too. Almost anybody can do it if you put in the fucking work and you really study the science of it and you know what you're doing. In regards to necromancy, shamanism plays a very vital role when you work with the dead. The smoking of tobacco, I believe I stated this in another video, smoking of tobacco puts you in a trance itself. It's a very light one. And as you're doing whatever it is you're doing, maybe you're using mama beans in order to fucking put yourself in a deeper energetic resonance with her. The tobacco that you smoke is going to enhance that. The actual smoke in of itself, energetically, is going to bring you into that other world, if that makes sense. The things I would suggest for starting to incorporate shamanism into the motherfucking necromancy that you do, focus on your breath. Breathe. Smoke your tobacco and relax. That sounds very fucking simplistic, but it is the gateway to really doing this, because you're often going to be out of body when you're interacting with middle world, upper worlds, you know what I'm saying, all that other good shit. And you're going to need to be thoroughly relaxed, because you're going to feel some crazy fucking shit. And the last thing you want to do is fucking be jolted because you felt something and now you lost communication and contact and you really can't remember none of that you experienced. Memory, the strength of memory, plays a very vital role in this kind of thing. It is very rare you will find a spirit that will repeat itself more than once. After you get to a certain point, it's either you get it or you don't. You write it down or it's just gone, you know? Once you relax, once you're smoking your tobacco, preferably be in a graveyard for this, or you can be in your temple, you'll start to energetically perceive the various dimensions. You'll perceive the power hand, the spirit hand, the spirits of the dead, that kind of thing. You start to perceive different currents and how they actually appear. You know what I'm saying? Through either symbolism, i.e. a snake representing the movement of a powerful current, or directly. And then from there, you can start manipulating and doing whatever it is you gotta fucking do. Now, this also relates to, I don't want to say doing magic on the fly, but you rarely, if ever, see a shaman or a witch doctor constantly in their temple. You feel me? At the most, you might see a witch doctor just sitting in a fucking hut somewhere all the fucking time. But shamans are in the moment. Shamans do things in the fucking moment as they sense the tides and flows of nature turn and ebb and flow. Therefore, that's going to start bleeding into your necromancy. You're going to start catching flows, so to speak, as you go about your day, sensing illnesses people have within their bodies, knowing when an enemy is going to attack before they even think about attacking. That gets very deep into clairvoyance and psychic insight, that kind of thing. You could take it to such a fucking degree in your harmony and your resonance with death and the elements and shit, to where you can see the move your enemy is going to make, and then the move that you're going to make, and then the move your enemy makes after that. You literally start treating this shit like it's fucking chess, people. Because that's what magical warfare essentially is. Chess. You have to strategize. You have to be in the moment so you can think. You have to have that wit. You have to be thinking on your feet, per se, in order to really stay safe and stay alive in these, as I like to call them, magical streets. When you're delving deeper into shamanism and it starts to bleed over into your necromantic work and your craft, you're going to come across some weird shit. Some of which is elemental spirits that are either partially made up of death or have a form that's like into a decaying human body. So you can see a fire elemental, but it morphs in and out between a skeleton and a fucking fire elemental. You especially find this in wildfires. Like if you go to fucking California, or to, for those of you in Australia, y'all are seeing a lot of this, those of you who have the sight and shit. Amongst the charred bodies and remains of the animals that were there, you see a bunch of spirits morphed, changed by the fucking flames into something they were not when they were alive. If you have the sight to see, you will see it. What you can do with these beings is, because they're like, I don't want to say corrupted, but they're transmuted forms of the elements that they once were, that you can cause fire-related death through working with these beings. And it can be much more powerful and much more quicker than their normal counterparts. For example, let's say you're working with a fire element, alright? So, you're working with jinn, fire elementals, gods of fire, or whatever. You're going to find your resonance with the fire element increases to the point where random explosions start happening near you. Maybe something in the power line just go boom. And, you know what I'm saying? Shit happens like that at random. Now, let's say you combine that with the equal eye, and you perfect it how to do the equal eye. I wonder, maybe you could set somebody on fire internally and eventually externally just by looking at them. Feel me? The possibilities are endless, my viewers. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Y'all gotta fucking think. Y'all gotta be logical, use that left fucking brain, especially if you like working in RHP motherfuckers. Y'all gotta use that left brain in combination with your right brain in order to think about the possibilities and attain the possibilities of what is possible. Like, there are limitless ways you can apply the elements, the stars, astrology, cosmos, etc. to your baneful craft. The human fucking body is made up of 70% water. Alright? Let's just say. Fucking, if you have mastered or have a degree of mastery over channeling death essence and you resonate with the water element, then what's to say you can't vampirize or poison the waters of that person's body? Desiccate them right then and there. And thus you are hydrated. They can die of fucking, not just dehydration, but actually, yeah, just dehydration. Fucking earth element. Not just causing earthquakes, but earth deals with the body as a whole, all the combination of it that form what you see on the outside, the bone structure. So if you master, let's say, the evil eye, and you're in resonance with the earth element, let's say you can't break somebody's bones just by casting the evil eye on them with enough practice and enough mastery. Feel me? Nature is violent. Nature is fucking scary, yo. It's beautiful, but at the same time, it is horrific. Therefore, these powers can be naturally channeled through your craft. I'm gonna put a pin in that for a minute and talk briefly about motherfucking astrology. Just very briefly, and then we're gonna end the video. There are 12 signs. 3 fire, 3 air, 3 water, 3 earth signs, right? Everybody has access to the 12 signs within them. Most people simply don't know how to tap into these energies because they're chained up under that which they were born under. That's why you sometimes hear the zodiac signs referred to as the zodiacal tyrants, because that binding, so to speak, is very difficult to break because you're essentially going against your nature. It's a transmutation of your own nature. For me, I'm a Taurus. I'm an earth sign. It would be very difficult for me to go into a fucking Aries kind of mode. You feel me? To really like tap into that energy as if it's second nature, you know, because I'm an earth sign. Now, what most people don't know is that the 3 signs in each element is simply a different gradient in intensity of that element. Here's what I mean. A Cancer water sign feels very deeply, right? That's one gradient. Scorpio, the next gradient, feels even deeper than a Cancer would feel. Pisces feels even deeper than both Scorpio and Cancer. Does that make sense? It's a different gradient of intensity relating to that element that you can tap into. With that being said, there are ways you can apply astrology to necromancy, i.e. working with the 8th house, which is ruled by Saturn. Some sources, especially in Vedic astrology, they say it's ruled by Saturn and Pluto. You can pick and choose as you please, but the 8th house deals with all things death related. So, okay, let's say you got your enemy's name and birth date. You go fucking plot out their astrological chart, and you find out Saturn has a conjunction with Pluto and Mars in the 8th house, in their 8th house, coming up on, let's say, tomorrow. Now would be the perfect time to create that kind of talisman, right at that exact time, day, and hour, if you can, in order to inflict death upon them. This is kind of similar to the way the magicians in the Picatrix did their thing. You can draw out, the image in the Picatrix that corresponds with Saturn, dress appropriately, do that whole litany, give whatever fucking offering, boom. Next thing you know, your enemy is suffering, blood vessels rupturing, all that other kind of shit. You might not have the patience for that. but you can still use the same principle to bolster your craft. Making fucking candles concentrated with the seal of Saturn on it, with the seal of Mars on it, with the seal of fucking Pluto on it. And then you do whatever banquet ritual you normally do. You see how you can use this knowledge and really apply it to better yourself or bring detriment to another person? It requires a lot of study, a lot of time, a lot of effort. So if you have the intellectual grit to fucking do this shit, then you can fucking do it. It's as simple as just fucking doing it. Now, real briefly before I end the video, there are now, due to COVID and whatnot, recently there's been a case of the bubonic plague over in China. And I think it was yesterday, a case of the bubonic plague was confirmed in a squirrel in fucking Colorado here in the States. That being said, please be careful if you come across a dead animal. I'm about to put it out there. You know, especially for you LHP black magicians and shit. Fucking, yeah, we're powerful, we can cure ourselves, we're not really worried about none of this shit. But still, it always pays to be careful. Use common sense, wear your gloves if you decide to fucking do that shit. Stay safe while you do it, you know? So with that being said, I'm gonna end this video. Please like, share, subscribe, all the other fucking crap I'm supposed to say. And, you know, I'll talk to you all next time. Stay safe and happy hunting.